Shemel Shah. Yahweh Shemel Shah. Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
But understand thou for thyself, and seek out the glory for such as be like thee. For unto you is paradise open, the tree of life is planted, the time to come is prepared, plenteousness is made ready, a city is builded, and rest is allowed. Yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. The root of evil is sealed up from you, weakness and the mob is hid from you, and hell to be forgotten. Sorrows are past, and in the end eschewed the treasure of immortality. Let my soul bless Yahweh, the great King. When Jerusalem shall be built up with sapphires and emeralds and precious stones, thy walls and towers and battlements with pure gold. And the streets of Jerusalem shall be paved with beryl and carbuncle and stones of Ophir. And all her streets shall say, Alleluia, and they shall praise him, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, which have extolled it forever.
It's about time, man, because I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get the kingdom. I'm ready to live. I'm ready to breathe fresh. I'm ready to have beautiful, pure women, okay? Not no strawberry harlots on this side. Ready to have children, man, you can vibe with, okay? Be around brothers. Be around the Lord himself, okay? I'm ready to go and visit places in the galaxy that we didn't know exist. All right, I'm ready to walk on sandy beaches, man, and explore the ocean floors. I'm ready to fly, okay? I'm ready to eat real food, okay? I'm ready to drive a chariot, man. All right, I'm ready to minister to the Lord and to be ministered to, man. Okay, I'm ready to worship Yahweh Bashim Yahweh in its full entirety. Okay, I'm ready for it. We're ready, man. I'm ready to see angels and greet angels.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. All right. And when I want to get into the day, another morning news and prophecy is understanding what we're seeing is a psychological, roundup. This devil, has all these different psyops going on. Okay, stringing, people along, all right, with this carrot dangling in front of them. Okay, 1 minute, people are in deep distress and anxiety. The next minute they're relieved. Next minute they're being, showered with, promises and gifts. Okay, and then it's just this back and forth. All right, and it's psychologically breaking people down to be manipulated to bend the knee. Okay, to this new world order. The devil, he has so much going on. All right. And if you're all right in the dark, okay, and you're just groping, you're reaching for, a way. Okay. Well, this devil is going to have you all over the place. Okay. To the point where you're going to be so confused by the time he presents this new world order, you're going to bend the knee. Okay. You're going to be begging for it. A lot of people are finna beg for this technology to be merged with machinery. Okay, and I got some precepts. I got a few videos as well I want to get into, but let's deal with this first. Okay, this is the book of Psalms. All right, because this devil has become proud, you know, and in his mind, you know, through his authority, okay, he's going to establish this. He's going to pull this off. You know, he's hyped up, okay, to pull this off. Like it says in Psalm 64, we get that as well. All right. It says, Psalm 74:5, and this is in the AMP. It said, I said to the arrogant, do not boast, and to the wicked, do not lift up the horn of self-glorification. And this what the devil is doing, all right, by the way of his technology, by the way of his so-called science, all right, his pseudoscience. Okay, he's glorifying himself as if he has something figured out above, all right, what the Most High has established. You know, and this is what he's getting ready to present to the world. Okay, and this man is he's boasting. The devil is boasting in what he's going to do. All right, and he's rolling it out now. Okay, no more of when he begins to roll it out. It's being rolled out. Okay, it says, verse 5, it said, do not lift up your, all right, horn on high, all right, or be defiant or aggressive. Okay, and this devil is being extremely defiant against the Most High. Do not speak with a stiff neck, you know. And let's get this word defiant. All right. See what it gives us. All right. So defiant, because it's one thing to be disobedient. Okay. But this devil here, all right, he's defiant in his rebellion. Okay. So you go to this word defiant, just a quick Google search. Okay, it said defiant, it says resisting, it says openly resisting or disobeying, showing defiance. You know, so he's openly resisting Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai to the world. This is an open defiance, which means that makes it extremely disrespectful. You know, because imagine, you know, your child, you know, because one thing you catch them sneaking and doing stuff, you know, you still gonna be a punishment. Okay, but if they just openly defy you, okay, like you not even there. Okay, you're gonna take that disrespect on a whole nother level. And this is what the devil is doing with this new world order. This is just an open defiance against, all right, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. Okay. This is what these devils are on. Okay, but he's finna lose. You see, it's not gonna go well because the Lord is finna get ready, all right, to put down this rebellion. See, the Esau finally finna get the response that he been provoking from the Lord. Okay. The Lord has been, you know, long suffering for the sake of the elect being edified. But when the elect is edified, all right, the Lord is going to respond to the devil. Okay, Esau is going to get the response he's been begging for. Okay, from the Most High. Verse 6 said, for not from the east, nor from the west, nor from the desert comes exhaustion. Okay, but the Most High, the judge, he puts down one and lifts up another for a cup. Okay, because see, promotion doesn't come from within the earth. You see, Esau has been exalted. All right, he's been the exalted heathen. Okay, because of prophecy, because of the will of the Lord. Okay, and Esau, he likes to credit to his IQ, his ingenuity, you know, his perseverance, and all this, you know, white supremacy, Edomite supremacy BS rhetoric. All right, natural selection, survival of the fittest. You know, he likes to push that rhetoric, but no, you're in power solely because of the will of the Lord. Okay, all that BS pseudoscience of, you know, just this superiority. All right, garbage. Because you Edomite's not superior, man. Okay, you're inferior. You're the most inferior people in the earth. Okay, you just have the gift. Okay, deception. Okay, then the Lord, you know, gave you a sword along with the deception. Okay, but the Edomite man in his base in his natural estate ain't it. He's not inferior to anybody in the earth, man. I mean, he's not superior to anybody when you strip away what the Lord has given this man. Okay? Verse 8, it says, for a cup of his wrath is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, and the wine foams, it is well mixed and fully spiced. He pours out from it, and all the wicked of the earth must drain it and drink down its dregs. Okay? So the Lord has a cup perfectly mixed for you devils that you're finna have to take. You know, a cup of poverty, captivity, okay, slaughter, you see, embarrassment, all this in this cup, all right, that the Lord is mixing for you devils while you're applying your NWO. Okay? Esau finna come into this cup. You see? It said, but as for me, I will declare it and rejoice forever. I will sing praises to the power of Jacob. You see, and that's the spirit that we in. You see, we're in the spirit of rejoicing because of what the Lord is doing and getting ready to do, man. Okay, which is setting Esau up for failure. All right. And his devil is going with his play. He's all in. Esau, all his chips on the middle of the table. Okay. he you know, he don't let his hair back. And he going for what he know. Okay, so all the horns of the wicked he will cut off, but the horns of the righteous will be lifted up, man. And that's the power, okay, that Yahweh Shai is coming with. Yahweh Shai is coming to establish power for the righteous. Okay, beginning with the elect of Israel. Okay, and the devil, he's getting ready to be cut off. Okay, but he's fooled to think that he's finna get ready to pull this off, man. Okay, so now let's go here to I got this video real quick. I got a few. Okay. All right, these devils are always boasting and what they about to do, man. Okay. So let's play this. They call this the giant leap. Okay, it's one of the WEF's, policies. It's called the giant leap. Okay, and they want to leap from this old world to this new world. All right, and they're in the midst. All right, of taking their jump. They're running down. All right, they're running. To take this jump, this leap from, all right, the old world to the new world. All right, and Trump is that transition piece for Western society, man. Okay.
The second scenario is the giant leap. We wanted to identify a small set of actions, a minimum viable product, to reach as many sustainable development goals in Europe's vision of a social and green region. We wanted to take a systems approach to explore if we can achieve an acceptable level of well-being for the global majority on a finite planet. We conclude that nothing less than the following 5 extraordinary turnarounds are needed to have well-being for all while respecting planetary boundaries. Ending poverty, addressing gross inequality, achieving full gender equity, transforming the food system and the way we eat, transitioning to clean energy and efficient energy. We argue that these 5 extraordinary turnarounds in the set of economic reforms that will drive them form the basis of a well-being economy. It is not a blueprint, but more of a guide for systemic transformation. In this scenario, poverty ends a generation earlier than too little too late. We see gender empowerment in 1 generation, not 10. We see a switch to healthier plant-based diets. There is still meat consumption, but at sustainable levels. And we have carbon dioxide emissions every decade to reach net zero by 2050. The economic model everywhere is circular, regenerative, and efficient. Material consumption of unsustainable resources is reined in, fossil energy phased out, and we see a significant redistribution of wealth. In this scenario, we introduce a universal basic dividend operating like a universal basic income, with dividends coming to all people, sharing the wealth of the global commons and public goods. Who's taking the wealth now? It is not properly redistributed. This is not utopic. This is what is fair and just and what a society in transformation is all about. Why do we think this is important? We know the giant leap will be disruptive. We're talking about a complete shakeup. This is everything, everywhere, all at once. It will create shocks.
So are you ready? Are you prepared for this massive global event that is about to take place? That's going to make all the economies drop like dominoes, make them all bow down to this World Economic Forum agenda? This giant leap, which is eerily reminiscent of the Great Leap Forward, which was a campaign in China rolled out by Mao, which ended up seeing 15 to 55 million deaths in just a couple years when they rolled this out. It was a plan to industrialize society. You just heard her name off their plan to redistribute wealth. This is not going to be good for the everyday person. They're not asking permission. They're showing you their plan for what you will eat, how you will travel, what you consume, what you earn, what you own, everything. It hasn't gone away just because Klaus Schwab retired or fell back into the shadows. This is a warning. A massive event is about to take place. I've warned you for the longest time. The entire Mar-a-Lago Accord is set up to address this for America. This will be pushed full scale when this new Fed representative gets in there come May of 2026, and it would go full scale. You're about to witness different economies start to drop. Japan, France, Germany, all these different places at the same time, so they can usher in this new restructuring of the global economy, exactly as she put it. Okay, are you ready for a shift to plant-based food? It's happening right in front of your eyes as they make meat more expensive. You're not even going to be able to afford it anyway. So even if you wanted to eat it every day, it'll only be once a week because you can only afford that much if you're lucky. Something big is about to happen. They just mentioned phasing out fossil fuels. How are you going to do that? Wiping out the oil consumption globally? That means a whole new system is about to be rolled out. And as I've warned you forever, it's going to be the beast system. And the only way you're going to be able to participate in it is to take their mark and to bow down to the beast, to be a part of it. And they're going to have all the cool things on the other side. The anti-gravitics, the Jetsons cars flying around, all the stuff that you will not be able to participate in unless you take that mark. This is the global crackdown. This is it. I'm going to leave some links and I'm going to break this down further on the live stream. But this...
Yeah, man, and she made a point, dealing with they're getting ready to send out dividends. And that's what Trump is speaking on, all right, with this tariff dividend, so get used to hearing this word dividend, get used to, them acting like they're going to include you in the profits of the economy, okay? Is a way to bait people in, you see? And she told you that this giant leap is going to create, okay, a shockwave, okay? And that shockwave is going to be depopulation. Okay, because they want the chaos. The chaos has to come before the order. Okay, so they're floating these ideas. They plant these seeds of economical utopia. That's why they're creating an economical nightmare. All right, this is the deliberate economical nightmare. Okay, so they can present, all right, this new world as an economic utopia. Okay, now I went to the chat. Let's go to the chat real quick. All right, because you heard this thing with Trump called a tariff, all right, dividend, as if the government, all right, is just sitting around making decisions, trying to figure out how to create a economic utopia for the masses. Okay, now I said, could tariff dividend checks, all right, be a prelude to universal basic income? Short answer, yes. Tariff dividend checks function as a small precursor, all right, to a universal basic income, depending on how they're designed and expanded. All right. What are tariff dividend checks? It said these are payments, okay, that the government sends to households funded by revenues from tariffs, okay, import taxes. Some economists have proposed them, for example, giving every American a tariff rebate so that instead of the government keeping tariff revenue is redistributed evenly. So you're gonna hear a lot of talking points about redistribution of wealth, okay, back to the common household. Okay, you're gonna hear that talking point. That's gonna be one of the sale pitches of, okay, this NWO, okay, this digital, all right, system of complete control. Okay, it says how they connect to UBI. It said both provide unconditional cash. Okay, if the tariffs are universal, everybody gets them regularly, monthly, or annually. Unconditional, not based on income, then they are structurally, all right, then they are structurally identical to a UBI, just with a different funding source. So they could act as a pilot or public introduction to unconditional cash transfers. Okay, it says they normalize the idea of government issued, okay, cash payments. Okay, so this is we're seeing what a pilot or a precursor, okay, to what a UBI. Okay, so Esau's rolling this thing out. All right, and he's gonna start introducing, he's gonna start implementing, okay, new world order systems, okay, into society. Okay, and he's going to cause whatever event he needs to cause. All right, he's going to do whatever chain of psyops he needs to do. Okay, to implement these things into society, man. All right, it said they normalize the idea of government issue cash payments. It says monthly or annual dividend check style check lets people get used to receiving, okay, direct cash so that there's no stigma or complicated eligibility. All right, learn that unconditional payments don't collapse, all right, the labor market. Okay, it says political feasibility. It said tariff dividend checks might be politically easier, all right, to start because they are funded by tariffs, can be framed as make foreign producers pay Americans. Okay, they can begin small, they can be expanded gradually. All right, many UBI proposals in the U.S., all right, take the form of dividends. Example: carbon dividend, data dividend, because dividend sounds like, okay, less like welfare. Okay, so these dividend checks that you're going to hear about, these what they call rebates, and nothing but a precursor to the UBI. Okay, and to continue, and they can start, with direct deposits, and let everybody, get a feel for it. Okay, and then people get used to that extra income. Okay, now to keep enjoying this extra income, well, now you got to switch over to this new system. Okay, and that's how they do these rappers, man. These celebrities. Okay, they let them, get used to a certain lifestyle of celebrity and fame, and a little money. Okay, then they come to them. It's like, look, you want to keep this going. This what it is. Okay, and see, the devil, he's gonna do this on a massive scale, on a global scale. Okay, especially over here in the West. All right, so let's go from there. Let's play this video here. Um, mm, thought I had it pulled up. Hold on. Oh, I thought I had it pulled up. I got it real quick. Let's see. So we heard, the news with Apple, okay, and what things. Oh, here we go.
The next major step for full-scale digital ID just took place. Apple has announced that their iPhone will now have digital ID. What does this mean? The Apple iPhone digital ID is just going to be a digital representation of your US passport. Let me take you through it. So with Apple's iPhone, you would essentially load on your US passport into the Wallet app, and it'll also be accessible on your Apple Watch. This basically allows US passport holders to create digital identity credential based on your passport information. So this is a digital identity credential. It's not yet going to be connected to all that you are, all the info data, your history, your financial transactions yet. This is just a digital credential based on your passport info. But again, it's another major step towards the coming control grid. When users actually do this, iPhone users do this, step one is you're going to scan your passport photo page, and that's also going to read the embedded microchip in your passport. If you didn't know already, there's an embedded microchip in every US passport. The second step is it'll give you a facial scan. So your biometric authentication. It's going to scan your face from different angles. It's going to require you to do different head movements. This is the step of collecting biometric data, giving it to a private company like Apple. Users then can present their digital ID at in-person checkpoints. For example, over 250 US airports. Right now, it's only for domestic travel, not international. If you do international, you are required to have your physical passport in hand. So the digital ID on the Apple iPhone, they say it's encrypted and it's just stored on your device. Apple says that they cannot see when or where your ID is being used. Again, that's their claim, but how often do we trust what tech companies tell us about our data and how they protect it or what they can see or not see? This all plays in, again, to Agenda 2030, the digital legal identity. So they are trying to go for identities that are managed, verified, used digitally for access to our own rights and services. Okay, this goes back to what I said. If you step out of line with anything that the current regime in power or the global regime says is out of line, they can shut you down for access to bank accounts, to food, things like that. That's where we're going. This Apple Digital ID is a major step to eventually fully replace physical IDs with digital. It's going to normalize this digital ID for so many normies who are just going to sign up and do it, right? It's so much easier. Just put your identification onto your phone. So right now, Apple's digital ID remains privatized. It's device specific. It has limited scope for implementation. But again, this aligns in spirit with the broader Agenda 2030 digital ID control grid. These are incremental steps. They're not just going to put the cage around you right away. It's going to be little incremental steps, get you used to little things piece by piece. And as you take those little baby steps, you get used to the cage being put around you. One more big step towards full-scale digital ID, where all the individual's life history, info, data, their financial records, everything is all connected. It's not there yet, but again, this is another step towards that. These are the questions this raises. Will digital-only IDs become standard and people required to use them? We've seen this is what happens, right? We normalize something, it becomes a standard, and then all of a sudden it's forced upon us to that's the only way to do it from now on. Who controls the ecosystem and the infrastructure of this? Right now, it's a private corporation, Apple, but government has talked about doing this. And of course, we have the ever-present evil public-private partnership where the public entity, the government, gives permission to a private corporation to store all your data and manage all of this through government contracts, which is most likely what is going to happen. The government will partner with these big entities like Google, Apple, Palantir, you name it, these big AI companies to manage all of our data, connect all the railways together of the infrastructure that's being laid so that your one big massive digital ID, the culmination of one of the pieces of Agenda 2030, is all connected down with your past, your history, your financial records, your schooling records, your health records, everything. Go take a look at some of my other digital ID videos for information about this. The last question, of course, is what legal safeguards will there be to protect against misuse, data breaches, tracking, exclusion, or blocking from services? These kind of issues will come up before there's any kind of legal framework in place. And that's what's happening. This technology is moving so fast. They're pushing these incremental steps so fast that it won't give our legislative process time to catch up for actual legislation that might protect each individual. This is the way that government will actually circumvent the law in order to control us through private corporations and our access to public services and private services. I would say the Apple Digital ID is a digital representation of a state or government issued identification. It's not yet connected fully to the full infrastructure and all the rail lines that they're putting together through these AI databases. So they can't quite shut you out of certain services if you did the digital ID on Apple, but it is coming. Again, major step towards that process as we take these little steps towards this dystopian, totalitarian future.
All right, a dystopian, totalitarian future. Okay, and it's not about him regulating, digital ID. No, it's just about control. Okay, this system is all about control. Okay, and like you said, this is incremental steps. Okay, he's implementing these things now. He's rolling these things out. Okay, as he's building these databases. Okay, in which these databases use up so much, so much resources. All right, that he has to depopulate. Okay, because there's not enough resources for people in these databases. Okay, so this is another reason why the chaos, why you have these wars, that he's pushing for. All right, because the quickest way to depopulate is in wars. Okay, so that's part of the agenda as well. Civil war, all right, and international war. Okay, you see in Ukraine, just millions of people dying. Okay, which Ukraine has a lot of rare earth minerals. And all these things are needed. Okay, for this devil's new system. Okay, so he has all type of wicked, evil schemes in the earth. And see, this devil, he stretched too thin. The Most High has this man stretched real thin. Okay, and it's all going to collapse on him. But he's rolling it out. Okay, so Apple, and it will figure, that they will be on the front line. Okay, as we know what the Apple goes back to. Ultimately it's satanic, a satanic doctrine going back to the garden. Okay. This is what the serpent was conjuring up in the garden. We're seeing the ambition of the serpent from the garden play out. Okay, through these Edomites. Okay, in this beast system. Okay. Now they've been talking about. Well, I just got a quick video I want to play too, because I've been hearing about this thing called net zero. Because now what the devil is doing, he's blaming, that the earth is heating up because of natural causes. Okay, and what we have to understand, the way this devil is boasting, all right, he's basically telling the Most High, like, you made the earth with flaws, and I'm here to fix it with my technology. Okay, just to sum it up and simplify it. All right, because Esau, one thing about following this devil, man, he just got things so complicated, unnecessarily complicated, how he try to explain things, and he wants it to be, all right, overly complicated, so people don't even begin to question. Okay, but when you look at it from the perspective of the spirit, understanding that this devil, okay, he's just adverse to righteousness. Okay, and in his mind, he thinks that he, is the Most High. He can be the Most High. So lucky, so let's play this real quick and just tap on net zero, and then I got some more precepts and things we'll get into, but let's just play a little bit of this.
Net zero.
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 Net zero madness.
You are being lied to about net zero, one of the biggest, most expensive ideas in human history. You are being lied to by politicians who are misrepresenting the facts while accepting huge money from private business. You are being lied to so rich men can get even richer.
Let's talk about how. Net zero refers to the idea of emitting no more carbon into the Earth's atmosphere than is removed by other processes. So it doesn't mean not emitting anything, but rather bringing carbon emissions down
down to as low as possible and then offsetting any remainder, either through natural processes like restoring wetlands or planting trees, or through technological fixes like carbon capture and storage.
We have to clean up the electricity system, stop burning fossil fuels to generate electricity, and replace that with clean power. We have to massively expand the electricity system, and that's because as part of getting to net zero, we're going to have to electrify a lot of energy end uses. We'll be driving electric vehicles, electric buses, even electric trucks. We have to electrify the way we heat our buildings, particularly homes, and places like Northern Europe, most homes are heated with fossil fuels, with gas boilers. That's going to have to change. We have to electrify large parts of industry, whether it's like the Port Talbot Steelworks, where they're replacing a blast furnace that burned coal with an electric arc furnace. And then there's a bunch of really hard stuff that we're going to have to address, like aviation. But aviation's hard because the energy density of oil basically is really hard to beat. There's huge kind of challenges, massive investment requirements.
The total spend required to get us to net zero is so large and so widespread that it's difficult to estimate. The United Nations Environment
Yeah, so all right, and then the video stopped on 144. Because the Lord, He's getting ready to establish a new government, man, a righteous government. Because this devil, he's completely wicked. He's against life. Okay, so now this whole thing with net zero. All right, so his theory, his narrative that he's running with is that there's too much carbon being released and not enough, all right, that's being absorbed, okay, which it creates a surplus of carbon that's heating up the planet, which is complete BS, okay? And ultimately what he's doing, he's demonizing everything that he can't control with his AI, okay? Because with this whole carbon footprint, he's saying, okay, the use, like if you burn a wood fire, if you got a wood stove and you burning, okay, a wood, say you're burning wood, okay, well, he's saying, well, that's going against, okay, carbon emissions. Why? Because he can't control that with AI, okay? Vehicles that burn off fossil fuels, well, we need to go to electric vehicles. Why? Because he can control the electric vehicles with his AI. Okay? He wants you to heat your house. He wants you these smart appliances in your house. Okay? Because he can control it with his AI. You see? So anything that he can't control with his AI, all right, he's demonizing as carbon emissions that's heating the planet, that could cause the planet to overheat, which is some BS, man, a lie. Okay? And basically what he's saying, well, the Most High made mistakes and we're here to fix it with our technology. Okay, this is what the devil is boasting in. Now, I want to go here because I looked it up. Just a look up. When you go to go back to the chat. So I jumped down. Yeah, so I asked to say, because Psalm chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, okay, be talking about a global rebellion against the Most High, and what would it look like today? And when you go into Psalms chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, it says, why do the heathen rage and the people plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up, and the rulers band together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their chains and throw off their shackles. All right. Is this describing a global rebellion against the Most High? All right. Now it says, Psalms 2 is seen as describing a collective human resistance to the Most High's rule. But how their rebellion is understood depends on tradition. Historical reasons describe ancient nations resisting Israel's king, the anointed. All right. It says, foreshadows worldwide, okay, opposition to the Most High and to the Messiah. A timeless picture of humanity, okay, rejecting divine authority. So global rebellion is a legitimate interpretation, especially, all right, in Christian theology, but not the only one. It says below are possibilities interpreted symbolically or theologically. All right. It says political or cultural rejection of moral authority. Psalms 2 predicts leaders saying we will not be ruled. Today, they could look like governments promoting moral frameworks explicitly detached, all right, from religious roots. And gradually he's done this. Okay, he has created a satanic society by constantly separating and tearing down, ethics, morals, okay, and created what? Satanic, rebellious cultural norms. Okay, it says policies based on the idea that moral truth is self-constructed, not, all right, transcendent. Okay, and this is why everyone has a phone, okay, and just can go live and speak what they think is truth and what they think is right and how they feel. Okay, it's a bunch of confusion. There's no set standard of righteousness in this society. Okay, it's just a bunch of people with ideas, all right, and opinions about what they think is right. Okay, everything is an argument. Okay, and this is what the devil, he's able to establish, okay, a anti-Messiah society, okay, with all these different opinions. Okay, it says hostility towards religious expression in public life, and we're seeing that even as you see these people, Jake is, voicing their disdain for the prophets. Okay, that's normal now, and it's going to continue to get more hostile, especially when the devil really pushes, propaganda against his word. All right. It said this doesn't require a single world government, just a broad cultural shift away from the idea of divine authority. See, that's already been done. Okay, and it's segueing into a single world government, where the first shift was to, a cultural shift away from, all right, a fear, a reverence of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. All right, because that doesn't exist within this society. Okay, everyone's proud with their own opinion and their own interpretation of righteousness, man. Okay, it said nations uniting around secular or material visions of progress. The kings of the earth take their stand. It says a modern analog could be global institutions building, all right, building systems with purely human-centered visions of progress. Okay, the Great Leap, the Great Reset, Build Back Better, the Big Beautiful Bill. Okay? 2030, net zero. You see, this is all rebellion. Okay? Dressed as a progress. Okay? It says international agreements or technologies designed, okay, with no reference to spiritual or ethical constraints. A belief that human power, tech, or science can solve everything without moral accountability, man. And this is Esau promise to the world. Look, we can transcend what is, and we don't have to be tied to, okay, righteousness. We don't have to be tied to the discipline of the scriptures. Okay, we don't have to be tied to the requirements of the Most High. Through technology, we can be what we want, do what we want, go as far as we want. Okay, with no accountability. You see, and this is His promise to the world. You see, and this what the serpent was spitting to Eve. You know, and now we're seeing it play out real time. It says not science versus faith, but science elevated to ultimate authority. Okay, not science versus faith, but science elevated to ultimate authority, man. And that's all this nigga talks about, his science and what he's about to do with his science. Okay. It said widespread dismissal, all right, or hostility toward religious teaching, rebellion, all right, in Psalms 2 is not passive but active, okay, rejection. Today, this might resemble framing religious believers as obstacles to freedom or progress. Okay, and this is what we're telling you, you know, especially you brothers that's out here on the front line. Esau is going to present you an obstacle that we're holding up freedom and progress for everyone else. Okay, we've seen a glimpse of that with the juice. They was acting as if, you know, the people that was anti-juice was holding up progress and was making the lockdown last longer. You know, like the people that was against the juice were against freedom and progress. Okay, so we're going to be looked at as if we're against freedom and progress of this world. Okay, that's how he's going to present it. You see, that's going to be part of the propaganda. It said public narratives portraying the Most High's commandments as chains or shackles. Okay, and that's what he does. Feminism was about him saying, look, you're still shackled. That's why he say what? Liberty. Okay, women's lib. Okay, let's free you from the shackles of the Most High, of you being a mother and a wife. Okay, you can be anything, and under my system, you can be anything. Okay, this is the serpent, man. You see, so he's telling the world, look, let's free you. You don't have to be just a man. You can be. There's more than two genders. Okay, sex is more than just, you know, a man and a woman. You don't have to. You can enjoy sex and not the responsibilities of family and marriage. And nah, man, you can you know. This is what he's pushing to the world, and the world already lives, all right, on these on these principles, man. Okay, that's why people detach, you know, sex from what? Responsibility, the joining the family. It's just randomness now. Okay, so when you read on, say cultural movements that celebrate self sovereignty. Okay, pride parades, the right for abortion, the right for, you see, all these different, you know, my body, my choice. Okay, that celebrate what? Self sovereignty. All right. Well, it say, and this is the slogan of this age. No one has the right to tell me how to live, not even God. Okay, and that's the standard of this society. A lot of most people walk around with this type of thinking, this type of pride. Can't be told a goddamn thing, unruly. Okay, it says moral autonomy elevated above external standard. Okay, let us break their chains. In Psalms 2, it says a modern parallel. It says ethics treated entirely as personal choice, moral constraints seen as oppressive, spiritual accountability framed as harm or regressive. Okay, it says hold on, oh man. It said this is not, all right, anti-human. All right, this is not anti-human, it's transcendent. I am my own authority. Okay, and this is part of the tenets of Satanism too. You know, that's one of the principles and tenets of Satanism, with everybody being their own authority. There is no God. Your truth is your truth. Your righteousness, whatever feels right to you, do it is right. Okay? It said technological or ideological system that replace transcendent meaning. A more symbolic reading could include transhumanism that sees humanity evolving beyond the need for the Most High. Transhumanism that sees humanity evolving beyond the need for the Most High, man. This is a deep rebellion, man. This man is leading a deep rebellion in the earth, man. Okay, and that's why when you take this C-hip, you're saying I'm fully in rebellion with Esau against the Most High. I fully support this rebellion. It's deeper than just buying and selling, man. This is an all-out rebellion that we're seeing. Okay, let's read on. It says, AI or digital governance structures becoming new centers of authority. Ideologies that offer salvation, okay, injustice solved, utopia promise without any spiritual foundation. Okay, this is what this devil is on. You see, this is what Esau. This is the way he has people, and this is why it's so much judgment coming. Okay, this is way worse than the Tower of Babel. You know, going back to Nimrod, which was a rebellion. You see, what this devil is on is far beyond any rebellion that the earth has ever seen. All right, and a lot of you Israelites are getting ready to follow this man, okay, into the most defiant rebellion that the earth has ever seen. Okay, a lot of you Israelites with fringes on are getting ready to follow Esau to this rebellion, because a lot of you Israelites are rebellious with fringes on and head wraps. Okay, you're following rebels. These guys that you are praising, and you follow these men no matter what, they're being led, all right, by this rebellion that we're speaking of. Okay, they joined with this rebellion, 501c3. You joined the church to a rebellion. Okay, that's why, you know, you keep pushing Christ and the doctrine change, because it's all about rebellion. They're teaching you Israelites to rebel, and they're preparing you to take that ultimate rebellion, which is the C-hip. That's the peak of rebellion against the Most High, is this C-hip. Okay, you're telling the Most High, we don't need you anymore. We got technology, we good. Okay, so let's go here into the book of Job. Job 21. Okay, and we'll get ready, to end in a minute. This is Job 21. All right, and 14, it says, yet they say to the Most High, depart from us. Okay, This is what this devil is saying. They want to set up this, this digital system. Okay, and Esau is like, we don't need the Most High. We got technology now. We got science now. We can create. We can re-engineer existence. You see, it said, "For we do not desire the knowledge of your ways." Okay, so what do you think? All right, they're gonna try to do with us as we represent the wisdom of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah in the earth. Okay, the prophets, man. So what do you think? All right, how they're gonna paint us and what they're gonna attempt to do with us, man. Okay, verse 15 says, "Who and what is the Almighty that we should serve Him, and what should we, all right, gain if we plead with Him?" And see, this is the same spirit that Pharaoh was in when Moses was coming to him. When Moses was stepping to Pharaoh, he was in that same spirit. I believe that Exodus is the 4th chapter. Let's go. Might be the 5th. Let me see. It's one in chapters. Oh, yep. This is showing you that the same spirit of rebellion and that Esau is hardened, just like Pharaoh. This Exodus 5:1 said, after Moses and Aaron came and said to Pharaoh, "Thus said the Lord, all right, Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, the power of Israel, let my people go so that they may celebrate a feast to me in the wilderness." Okay, and this is a response. But Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I do not know the Lord, nor will I let Israel go." So Pharaoh got sideways, man. He said, who is Yahweh? Because this the Lord's name in all cap. He said, I don't even know him. Pharaoh didn't even reverence him. And that's why the Lord broke Pharaoh down like he did. That's why he brought plague after plague after plague. Okay, and broke Egypt down to nothing. Okay, and the same thing finna happen with Esau, man. The Lord finna bring plague after plague and break this nigga down to nothing. Their pride finna get broken. Okay, that's a guarantee. Okay, and this devil, okay, he's the proudest. That's why scripture call him the most proud in the book of Jeremiah. Okay, so let's go back here. It says Job 21:15 says, "Who and what is the Almighty that we should serve Him, or what will we gain if we plead with Him?" Because Esau been winning with Satan. He's been winning with witchcraft and left hand magic. So it's like, what's the, we winning on the left side. What's the point? What's the point of the right? What's the point of righteousness? If we're breaking all the laws and we're prospering, we're trillionaires, gazillionaires, we got all the resources. Okay, we dominate militarily and economically. Okay, we got all the influence. Okay, so what's the point of the right hand? Okay, that's the mind of these devils, man. Job 21:16. But notice the prosperity of the wicked, okay, is not in their hand. Okay, the counsel of the wicked, okay, is and the mystery of the Most High is dealing with the ungodly is far from my comprehension. See, these devils don't understand that their prosperity is not in their power. Okay, this is what they don't understand. They've been exalted. The Most High pulled them up to this power. The Most High has driven them to this point, has raised them up to this point. Okay, why? To showcase power, just like He did Pharaoh. Okay, the Lord is going to make one more example, all right, of what happens to rebellion. Okay, the result of a rebellion. That's why America is going to be, a memorial, a desert. Okay, it's going to be a memorial of what happens to rebellion. You see, all this infrastructure, you know, all this, this modern, technology. You see, it's gonna be a desert. Okay, and that's how rebellion ends. That's how, trying to be deep and trying to outthink the Most High. And this how it's gonna end. Okay, and this is the last time the Lord's gonna have to make this example. All right, and He's gonna set His Son Yahweh Shai as King in the earth. Okay, and Lord willing, we'll be joint heirs to enforce righteousness forever, to maintain. See, once the Lord cleans the earth this time, okay, we're going to aid Yahweh Shai in getting things back in righteous order and maintaining that order forever. Okay, verse 17 said, how often then is it that the lamp of the wicked is put out and that their disaster falls on them? Does the Most High distribute pain, okay, and destruction and sorrow to them in His anger? So how often does the Lord have to make an example of wicked empire? Okay, and America just going to be the latest. Okay, America, all right, and this beast system is just going to be the latest example. It says, are they like straw before the wind and like chaff that the storm seals and carry away? Those nukes, man. Okay, and then those chariots. It says, you say the Most High stores away the punishment of a man's wickedness, for his children. Let the Most High repay them so that they may know and experience, man. And Esau, his punishment has been reserved to this time. This is that generation of Edomites, all right, in which the Lord is going to unleash their punishment. All right, and this punishment is going to go all the way back, to the garden. Okay, so, that's the point. Just wanted to get into that this morning. Lord will, you brothers, all right, and all right, you sisters was edified once again. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful next Shalom.